Welcome to the Network Marketing Made Simple podcast. I am your host, Scott Aaron, and each and every week I'm going to come to you with short, simple, and powerful tactics of how you can grow your network marketing business, brand, bank account, and impact on those around you. And just remember, network marketing is not easy, but it can be made easy with simple steps to create the success that you truly deserve. Welcome to episode 138 of the Network Marketing Made Simple podcast. And if you are a new listener, then welcome. And if you are a returning listener, then welcome back. And as always, if you are an entrepreneur, business coach, or a new and seasoned network marketer that is still building their business through the primary means of Facebook and Instagram, and you are not yet harnessing and leveraging the power and potential that LinkedIn can have on your business, your impact, and your bank account, then head over to my website, www.scottaaron.net, where you can fill out a free form to schedule a 15-minute call with me, where I can learn more about you, what you're struggling with, and how we could potentially work together. So, super stoked about today's episode for a few reasons. Number one, I love when I have people doing this in real time, coming from a tropical location where they live. So this episode is being broadcasted from Costa Rica, which is awesome. So if you guys hear some background noises, it's just because they are the noise of and the sounds of paradise. That's number one. Number two, this is also one of those episodes that I'm most curious about because it has to do with Facebook ads, which I've been a part of some high-level masterminds, and no matter how much money someone is or is not making, there is still this misnomer and this understanding or misunderstanding about how Facebook ads work and how they don't work and what people should or should not do. And the person that I have for you today is the CEO of her own Facebook ad agency. And not only does she have an amazing story, but she has amazing tips and tools that she can provide you guys as you listen to this to take your businesses to the next level. So Sara Yamtich, welcome to today's episode.
Thank you, Scott. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. So obviously you're in Costa Rica now, but let's go back because you've obviously you're from the States and you lived in different places. So let's talk about before it got to the point where you ended up in Costa Rica. Just tell us a little bit about you and your upbringing and what actually led you into diving into the world of Facebook ads.
Wow. Well, that could go on for a long time. I'll try to keep it short. I was raised in Missouri by a single mom. I grew up with pretty modest means, but really happy. And I got undergrads in anthropology and women's studies at University of Missouri, and then started working in domestic and sexual violence, actually. Decided to get my master's in social work and was deeply committed to transforming the planet for the better. Making the world a better place has always been my mission. So from there, I got a fellowship working on women's policy issues on the Hill in Washington, D.C., and then from there, I got a job in Atlanta at the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, working on violence prevention, child maltreatment, violence against women, community violence. And I did not feel like, and that's making a very long story short, but I did not feel like I was making enough of a direct impact there. I was not into bureaucracy. While I loved my coworkers and I feel like they all were brilliant and passionate about their work, it was like I was a square peg in a round hole. It wasn't for me. So in 2012, I decided, and I bet a lot of your listeners can relate to this, I decided that I was done, packed up my car, and moved from Atlanta and drove across the country to California and decided to go into life coaching. Took a coaching certification program, which led me to get into digital marketing. because one's got to market oneself. And that led me to take, Marie Forleo's B School and learn all about what it takes to market oneself online, which led me into the world of Facebook ads. Started working for an agency, a very rapidly growing agency. I was the first ads manager they brought on, and then I ended up training a whole team back in 2016. Did not love the way that agency ran the show, and so decided that I wanted to do it my way and started my own agency in January of 2018. So that's the abbreviated version.
So what was it? Obviously, I've done some life coaching myself, and I've I've done a lot of those same things and ventured into the digital world, and obviously I've dabbled in the Facebook ads world. But obviously life coaching is very rewarding because you're really helping people get past those sticking points and obviously start living life on their own terms. And then there's the digital world where you start to realize that there are so many more people out there globally that you can be impacting. And then there's the Facebook ad world. But before we get into all that, let's talk about the life coaching world, because obviously you worked with a lot of people, and there must have been something that kept coming up when you were working with these individuals that had you diving deeper, not only into digital marketing, but Facebook ads. So what did you take away personally with you working with those individuals? What did you take away most from the hours upon hours of coaching that you did from the individuals that you helped with, obviously life coaching and beyond?
That's a beautiful question. Thank you. So I ended up working a lot with creative people who were, much like I had been, stuck in a job that they didn't love. They most of them, I would say, probably had an entrepreneurial spirit that was aching to get out. And that they almost all had that sort of square peg in a round hole feeling in their life and in their career, in their world. Like they just weren't, like their current circumstances weren't cutting it for them, but they didn't fully know what was missing. And I continued to talk with a lot of those people, and I started to find that I really resonated with the entrepreneurial type of person. And I started to see myself and see these similarities in some of our struggles around what I would call the existential crisis of self-promotion. When you are entrepreneurial or a creative or something, you almost inevitably have to promote yourself or your work in one way or another. And it's really, I found it, now it's getting easier for me, thank goodness, but I found it really, really difficult to put myself, sorry for the noise here, to put myself in front of people. I could, and so it was easier when I first started working in Facebook ads to promote other people. I thought that was the way to go, is to try to promote other people because of that existential crisis that happens, I think, when like really creatively talented, gifted people find that they actually have to promote themselves. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely, because that brings me to my next question. With all the people that you worked with, what do you think individuals, entrepreneurs, because you and I are both in that same entrepreneurial space, what do you think entrepreneurs are most afraid of with putting themselves out there for the world to see?
Oh man, I think I can't speak for everybody, and maybe this is, I don't want to be too essentialist, but maybe this is how women feel. But there's an imposter syndrome and a fear of getting found out, a fear that people will realize that you're not all you say you are. Because to promote oneself, that means you've got to do this thing, this boasting or bragging, or what feels like boasting or bragging. Like, hey, I'm all that. I'm a great coach. I know how to. My life has to be perfect in order for me to tell you how to live your life, and my life isn't perfect. So how the heck can I say that, publicly? I need to really have my stuff together in order to put myself out there as if I have my stuff together. I think that's the big thing, at least for women. And you tell me if that's true, if that was true for you too. But is that imposter syndrome?
It's a combination of imposter syndrome, but it's also the feeling of what are others going to think of me if I do put myself out there? Because the fact is it is a scary place because we live in this overly abundant, opinionated world where when you make yourself so visible, whether it's digitally or just in person, that you're going to take some arrows. There's going to be some scrutiny. There's going to be people that have some negative thoughts, opinions, and beliefs of you. And again, I love what Les Brown says. He states that other people's thoughts and opinions of you do not have to become who you are. And it's our choice. So when you step into this role of being an impactor, what people have to understand about being an influencer, you have to impact people first before you can get them to be influenced to do more. So impact always leads to influence. So that leads me to my next question. Interestingly enough, when you go into a coaching business or you do what you are currently doing now, there are some things that happen and there's some things that come about that unintentionally happen. For me, just to share with you with my LinkedIn coaching, what people share with me that I didn't expect people to get is they said that they have a greater sense of posture and confidence, which is inevitably what you get as you get the repetitions and the conversations that you have. So my question to you is, with the people that you've worked with, whether it's the life coaching or the digital marketing or now the Facebook ads, what is something that your clients are sharing with you that they are receiving that you didn't ever expect them to receive?
Oh, wow. That's a tough one. Receiving from me.
Yeah. So like for
Yeah.
me, I teach people how to get more leads and how to build their business. But, when,
Yeah,
when people
that's the
share,
content. What else are they receiving? I think, and this, I'm a bit, if anyone were to go to my website, you'll see I'm a bit woo, if you know what that means. I'm kind of, I've got this spiritual thing about me. So I'm going to go into that a little bit. And I think that the clients that end up working with me end up being, their energy is lifted a lot. Like they feel more confident, their posture might get better, like you said, and there's this energetic lift. I sort of, and again, this is the self-promotion piece that I can even hear it coming up in myself. I can observe it coming up in myself, where I'm going to make this claim, but I know it's true because I get the feedback all the time. But I raise the vibration of the people around me. So when a client comes on and they're like about to like step into a bigger impact and more, and more people, like thousands, if not millions of more people, they need to be able to step into their own power. And I believe that by my interactions with them, I'm sort of helping raise them up into that so that they can more fully express themselves. Does that
yeah,
does that make sense?
yeah, no, that's confidence, it's posture, it's all those things that
Yeah.
we never expect our clients to receive, but they do. So before we talk about what you're doing now, what do you feel has been the greatest obstacle that you've had to overcome in the last, say, 1 to 3 years, not only professionally, but personally as well?
Well, I am a single mom, a full-on single mother, who has moved down to Costa Rica as the CEO of an ads agency. So there's a lot of challenges that I've overcome, but I welcome them all because I think they've made me who I am, and I think that they're inspiring to people. So I take them with joy. Um, but delegation, I think, is really, really been, and it continues to be really hard for me as a perfectionist and as somebody who really wants to be everything to everyone, but knowing that in order to have the impact I want to have, I need to bring on team members and assign things to them. I think that's been my biggest challenge.
So as far as facing those challenges, because everyone is going to face adversities and challenges in their life, what have you been able to, or what have you learned about overcoming those challenges and those obstacles that a listener right now that's in the beginning stages of their entrepreneurial endeavor or their network marketing business or their digital business? What's the best piece of advice you can give that person who is facing that obstacle right now?
That's a beautiful question. So nothing is insurmountable. Without giving too much information away, I'm a single mom, and I was in a relationship that was very, very difficult for a long time. I moved across the country multiple times. There were times when I thought there is no way I'm going to be able to get through this. I have no idea. Not that there's no way, but I don't know how. I don't know how I'm going to get through this. I don't know how I'm going to. I remember having to take my old job back after I left that part out of the story because I was trying to keep it short. After in 2012, I quit my job at CDC and moved out to California to become a life coach. My personal life blew up, and I had to move back to Atlanta, take my old job back at CDC for a year, just to have insurance for me and my kid. I knew that that was not going to last forever, and I didn't know how I was going to make the transition again back to being an entrepreneur, but I knew that I was determined to do so. So I think it's just knowing that anything is possible. Nothing is totally insurmountable. There's a much bigger picture than the one that is right in front of you, and that this is just one step on your journey. And that whatever you're going through at this moment is going to make you one badass. Because I would say now that after all I've been through and all I've walked through, the fires I've walked through and come out the other side, still a really positive person with that makes really, I think, wonderful impacts on the people around me. I'm grateful for those experiences I've had.
So why the transition out of life coaching into, digital marketing and then Facebook ads? What was that moment for you where you realized, you know what, I don't know if I want to continue doing this life coaching thing. I think there's something more for me and I want to dive into that. What was that moment?
You know, I don't, it's interesting because I found myself not really, when I was on calls with clients, I didn't really want to talk to them about their problems. I wasn't really interested in that. And I know that's not necessarily what coaches do, but I kept finding that things would sort of devolve into that. I more wanted to help people step into their best selves as much as possible. And there was something about, as I was learning digital marketing and I was sort of helping people do that inadvertently through coaching, I just found that that was my strength, that I was so much better at helping people step into their own sort of greatness and do that for themselves. And like I said, for a while, I thought that my role was to um, help other people shine. And I still think that's my role. But now, as the CEO of my own agency, I have to practice what I preach and do it for myself as well. But yeah.
So let's transition now into obviously something that people don't know much about and want to learn more. So first, before we go into the specific details, what was it about Facebook ads that really piqued your interest, not only to learn for yourself, but to then start a whole business around?
So when I was at CDC the second time around, I knew I had to get out, and I was trying to think like, what did I enjoy most about my previous entrepreneurial journey that I could sort of pursue now to get me back out of the bureaucratic grind. And so I was searching, and I found. And scrolling on Facebook, I found somebody offering a position as the first ads manager in her new agency. And so I jumped on that and I applied. I'd had some experience with it. And so pretty soon I just found out that I was double timing. I was working both jobs and being a single mom. And I found that I was so good at it that the clients absolutely loved me. And we went from having just 3 or 4 or 5 clients to having 40 clients on my purview. And it was this, as much as I loved the work and I was so good at it, and it was like my favorite thing, and I was able to quit CDC and devote myself to it, I I found that there was this like churn and burn sort of mentality with the agency, that it was the bottom line was more important than the individual and the client and the impact. And so I got incredibly inspired over the course of that year to start my own agency. So there was this journey of just sort of like, yeah, I've dabbled in Facebook ads, and I think it's a pretty cool thing to, oh my God, I am so good at this. I was thinking in Facebook ads. It was just like, what's the, like I'm in a yoga class and I'm thinking like, what would be the headline of this moment? What would be the imagery of this moment? What's the most empathic way to describe what's happening right now and the transformation that's happening right now? And that's how I see Facebook ads is it's deeply empathic copywriting. It's beautiful eye-catching imagery, um, and something that can really like draw a person in and invite them to transform, because I typically work for transformational coaches and soulful entrepreneurs.
So what's the biggest misnomer that people don't understand about Facebook ads? Because you hear, and again, this is just me paraphrasing, and what I hear is that I hear more from people how, they don't see Facebook ads working for them. They're spending a lot of money up front and they're not seeing a return on the back end, and they're hiring all these people that say they know what they're doing and nothing ends up happening. What's the biggest misnomer that entrepreneurs, network marketers, business coaches need to understand about Facebook ads that they may not know?
So I think that people dive into doing Facebook ads and to hiring agencies to do their Facebook ads way too early. I think you really need to make sure that you're ready. You need to have a really strong organic following for it to really get good ROI. I always say that you need to have a proven funnel. You need to already have something that's got, at least 5 sales, especially if it's high ticket. Like you really need to have something that's proven with your audience. And you need to have a funnel, obviously, but it needs to already be validated before you start running ads to it. You need to, like I said, already have that organic following. Like the first thing I do when somebody books a call with me, one of the first things I do is I go check out their Instagram, I check out their Facebook, I check out their LinkedIn. I just see like what they've already got going on, what their engagement level is. Do they have a lot of people, commenting, liking, and loving on their stuff? Because my job as a Facebook ads expert is not to start the fire. I cannot start the fire. You've already got to be on fire, and then I can pour a ton of fuel on it. And I can bring out the best of you and put it in front of the right people. But I can't get the party started. So I think that's one of the big things, is that people neglect to do the work necessary to get themselves and their business prepared for Facebook ads.
I think that's such a beautiful analogy, is that you got to start the fire first before you can actually build it to other levels. And I think, there's a lot of people that want to take the easiest road possible. And I share this quote whenever I speak and whenever I'm training, is that, Les Brown talks about those that take the easy road create and live a hard life, but those that take the hard road will create and live an easy life. So it's always about taking the hardest road possible so you can learn the most lessons to obviously create the most abundant life. So what is it about your agency? Because, you and I both know there's a ton of coaches out there. There's a ton of digital marketing coaches. There's a ton of life coaches, and there's a lot of Facebook ad agencies. If someone was to ask you what really differentiates your agency from others, how would you respond to that?
Well, there's a few different ways to respond to that. One thing is my niche. My niche is those soulful thought leaders, spiritual entrepreneurs, transformational coaches, but really people who are working to do really good work in the world, particularly those like really spiritual and soulful thought leaders. That's my jam. That's my favorite kind of person to work with, and I really get them. That's my world. That's what I'm into. So there's the niche, and then there's like the strategy. And that is that gone are the days where you can just do like a lead gen, get people's email addresses and then throw up a sales page to them and expect them to buy. I mean, unless you're super famous already, then maybe it's easy. But really, you need to nurture. It's such a saturated market. And like you said, there are so many people out there running ads that you really need to stand out. You've got to create a lot of intimacy and connection and resonance, hence the name of my agency, with your audience before you invite them to purchase anything. And so one thing that we do in our agency, of course, we do lead gen. We've got to get people into your world first, but then we very strategically retarget all of those leads with organic looking content that builds authority, that establishes trust, that creates intimacy, that tells your personal story and your journey, so that by the time you're like, hey, I'm launching my masterclass, or hey, I'm launching my membership site, or whatever, it's not so much that you have to sell to them as people are sort of, they feel like you're their friend and they're chomping at the bit to join. So those are I would say those are the two major things. And well, there's a third, and that is the culture of my agency and the team. Because of the experience I had at another agency, I have been so resolved to treat my team extremely well, not just for its own sake, although I would do that for its own sake, but also because when your team is treated really well and they feel valued and loved and cared for and well compensated, then they're going to pass that along to the clients. They're going to love the clients, feel really, really spacious and creative and joyful in the work that they're doing. So I would say those are the three components that probably set me.
So beautifully stated. So what are maybe one, because again, I believe in taking, you have to have a proven concept first. You have to have that organic following first before you're able to then dive into the whole Facebook ad thing. So for that network marketer, that business coach, that entrepreneur that's looking to build that organic following, that organic engagement that will allow them to then step into the Facebook ad world, what are one or two tangible tips that you can give people that they can do on their Facebook business pages to start building that know, like, and trust factor, where they're getting that organic engagement, where they can then start to build that traction towards doing Facebook ad campaigns?
Yeah, I mean, I know people probably have heard this a million times, but doing those Facebook lives is it's pretty cool. You know, I know it's hard. It's like pulling teeth. If you go to my business page, you can see that I don't do them often enough. But really, to do those is really, really helpful because it helps people get to know you a lot better. And I think that there are ways to sort of trick yourself into doing them if it is like pulling teeth for you. Um, for one, you know, having a list of topics and bullet points under each one, just always in a Google Doc that you can always check out. You know, finding the time of day that really works for you. For me, I do best in conversation like this, like what we're having now. So I'll invite my colleagues and my friends and my clients to hop on a Facebook Live with me, split screen, so that we can have a conversation about a given topic. But then, you know, just I would say like regular, authentic posting, especially people really, really love when people talk about their journey and their personal story and their own personal transformation. You know, if I'm talking about like the fact that I am a single mom, that I had a really tough relationship, and that I had to take my old job back in order to be on this entrepreneurial journey, I think people really resonate with that. And so I think being just really authentic is a big deal. So I think those are probably my two main tips is to do the Facebook lives from your business page. Get your friends and family to watch by telling them about it on your personal page if you need to, but definitely do that on your business page, because that way you can really repurpose. Every time you do a Facebook Live, I don't know, you know, if your audience knows this, but Facebook is collecting data on the people that are watching that. So you can always retarget all of the people that watch your videos for 10 seconds, or if they watch 25% of it, you can retarget those people with your ads down the road. So it's really, really valuable to do those in addition to building that trust and resonance.
No, it's something that I need to get better at. I always do Facebook Lives on my personal page, but even my fiance said to me last night, like, you got to start doing more Facebook Lives on your business page. You know, you have all these people that engage with you and follow you, and you just need to keep pouring into them. So I think that's great advice. You just got to start. And then the other thing is this: I want my listeners to understand that it doesn't matter where you're starting. You just have to start, because everyone keeps saying, well, you know, Facebook, it's too late. You know, I can't get in on that. I don't have a following. You got to understand, every person that is succeeding in their own right using Facebook ads also had to start somewhere. So just starting is going to enable you to take the steps towards succeeding in the way that you want to, but doing nothing changes nothing. So as long as you do something, you will get something back in return. So Sara, with everything that you're doing now with your Facebook ads agency, what have been some of the biggest changes that you've seen to Facebook ads that allowed you to pivot in that direction to continue to provide and give your clients the best results?
What do you mean changes to Facebook ads? Let me make sure I understand that.
Well, obviously, the platforms are always changing. The way
Yeah.
that people utilized Facebook ads 3 and 5 years ago are different than now. There's a lot
Hmm.
more video and there still are
Yep.
regular general copy and posts. But, you always have to pivot when Facebook, because Facebook owns the platform, that we can't control what they will and will not change. So how has you and your agency had to pivot with some of the changes that are ever changing with social media, using Facebook as an example?
Yeah, the big thing I think was the addition of this thing I talked about earlier, the resonance stacking, which is the retargeting people. So if we can get lead gen, like if you had a free guide or an ebook or a masterclass or something like that, that we could get converting at around $1 or $2 a lead. And then we could retarget all of those people with content up to 3 months. Because, one thing that's changed is that because it's such a saturated market, on average, it takes 44 days for somebody to buy something from you. And that's on average across all different kinds of products. But if you think about it, like you really need, if it takes 44 days for somebody to buy a thing from you, then you really need to be, nurturing them over time. I imagine that like 5 years ago, 4 years ago, like that number was a lot lower. So that's the big pivot, I think, is that nurturing piece. And with really sort of I don't want to say personal, as like you don't need to get too personal, like you don't need to go into like TMI realm, but you do need to share a part of yourself, because that's how you're going to stand out from the saturated market. That's how you're going to stand out from everybody else, is by really bringing forward what makes you very different. And I would say that with all of the changes that happen on Facebook, that's the one thing that I think is going to be consistent forever, is that you've got to be authentically yourself. You've got to really be polarizing in the ways that you're polarizing, and show up and understand that you're not probably going to get, unless you're already famous, you're not going to get immediate ROI. You're going to need to nurture people over time. And I think that that's the big shift I made in the agency in the last year, is that addition of the resonance stacking in what I offer my clients.
I believe patience is a virtue for so many things, and parenthood has taught me that becoming a father has really taught me patience, and I know you can resonate with that as well. And being a parent is that in business and in life, when you have patience, it allows you to stay in this state of being present, being in the moment, not being overwhelmed, not having any of that negativity flowing through the 6 inches between your ears. And that's what really debilitates people. And again, doing things without expectation, just literally taking those steps each and every day towards building your business, towards building your brand, till towards building, again, that know, like, and trust factor between you and the end user, whether that's going to be a client, whether that's going to be someone that's going to buy some of your products or invest in you or become whatever it is. It's taking the longest road and the most consistent road possible in achieving that. So, Sarah, before we end today's amazing episode, how can people learn more about you, your agency, and how can they get connected to you?
Yeah, thank you. So Resonate with Sara is my handle on Facebook and on Instagram. So you can find me just by typing that in on either platform, and I would be happy to have you there. I'm also, I've got a podcast called Conscious Conversion. So definitely check me out there on iTunes, Conscious Conversion. And then if you go to my website, resonatewithsara.com, and my name does not have an H, so it's Sara, resonatewithsara.com. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see a place where you can opt in and you can get what are my marketing mandalas. And those go through the 6 things you need to have in place before you're ready to invest in Facebook ads. It also goes through some daily practices that you can take on to sort of get yourself in the best mindset or soul set, and sort of an abundance mindset, before you start investing in Facebook ads as well. So yeah, I would love to have all y'all come on over.
Awesome. So guys, all this information is going to be in the show notes, and obviously you're going to be able to use those links so you guys can connect with Sara and learn more about her and her agency and what she provides. And Sara, final question before we end today's episode: what does success mean to you?
Well, I mean, my own personal fulfillment, joy, and happiness is a big part of that, but also the impact that I'm making on the world. So there's like 8 billion people or 7 billion people on this planet. 2 billion people of them are on Facebook and Instagram, which is 3 times more than you need for a critical mass. And if I and my clients are reaching some percentage of those people with work that is helping to make the world a better place, even if it's a small percent, then I feel pretty good about what I'm doing here.
I love it. Thank you so much, Sara, again, for taking the time to come to my audience today, all the way from beautiful Costa Rica, and just taking time out of your day, and such tangible, simple things that people can do to create massive results. And I love how you broke it down so easily. And I'm going to encourage all the listeners, connect with Sara. All her information is going to be in the show notes. So please take advantage of everything that she has to offer. And Sara, again, thank you for your time, your energy, your love, your knowledge, and all of the things that you brought to today's episode. Thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you so much, Scott.
Absolutely. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please enjoy the rest of your days, and I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you again so much for checking out this week's episode. And if you can, head over to iTunes, search for Network Marketing Made Simple, leave me a 5-star rating, basic review. I would be grateful for all of the support you guys can give me. And again, if you'd be interested in learning more how to utilize LinkedIn to grow your business, your brand, and your bank account, head over to my website, www.scottaaron.net. Fill out the form for your free 15-minute discovery call so I can learn more about you, your business, and how we can work together. And again, thank you guys so much. Grateful for you all, and I'll see you next time.